Sometimes family love is just another word for control. Imagine sitting down at a dinner table, expecting warmth, laughter, maybe a few awkward jokes, and instead discovering that the entire evening was a trap, carefully planned to corner you into giving up your hard-earned security. This isn't just a story about money, it's about patterns of favoritism, sacrifice, and what happens when one person finally decides to break free. Stay with me because what begins as a simple family dinner turns into a life-changing escape. I sat at my parents' old oak kitchen table, the same spot where I'd once finished algebra homework, written essays, and even cried into my arms during high school. The table had scratches, faint rings from water glasses, and patches where the finish had worn away, reminders of meals long past. My mom bustled at the stove, stirring too fast, her movements tight and nervous. My dad, meanwhile, poured wine with unusual generosity, filling glasses a little too high. "More potatoes, Clara?" Mom asked, her tone unnaturally bright. "I'm fine," I replied. But before I could blink, she scooped another large spoonful onto my brother Eric's plate. Eric didn't even glance up, his thumbs still flying over his phone screen. His wife, Melissa, sat beside him, slicing their 8-year-old son Tyler's meat into tiny squares as if each piece had to be perfectly even. "Isn't it nice," Mom said, smoothing her apron nervously, "to have us all together on a Tuesday? Such a rare treat these days." I nodded, hiding my frown behind a sip of wine. A Tuesday night family dinner with the good china, Mom wearing her pearl earrings that she usually saved for weddings and Easter service, and Dad sporting his polished retirement watch. Something wasn't right. Eric and Dad exchanged a quick glance. Then Mom's fork clattered against her plate. "Clara," she began, clearing her throat, "we need to talk about something important. About Tyler's future." The air in the kitchen shifted. My heartbeat quickened. Dad slid a thick envelope across the table toward me. His expression was firm, businesslike. "Read this," he said. The paper bore the letterhead of a bank. A loan agreement. My stomach dropped as I scanned the top page. $40,000. College fund co-signing agreement. "It's just a formality," Eric said, finally putting down his phone. His voice had that fake casualness, like he'd rehearsed every word. "The bank needs another signature, someone with strong credit. Someone reliable. That's you." The compliment landed with a sting. I flipped to the second page and froze. My name was already typed into the cosigner field. "You just got your bonus, didn't you?" Mom said, reaching for my hand. Her eyes glistened with well-timed tears. "Family helps family, sweetheart." My body went cold. This dinner, the china, the pearls, the Tuesday night? It wasn't spontaneous. It was an ambush. A setup. I glanced at Tyler, sweet and oblivious, busy arranging peas into little shapes. He had no idea he was the emotional bait in tonight's trap. And suddenly I was back in time. The fluorescent lights of McBride's pharmacy glared above me, the place I'd worked at 16 while classmates cheered at football games. My textbooks lay spread out in the break room during my 30-minute dinner breaks. My parents never came to my science competitions, not once, but they had matching sweatshirts for every single one of Eric's football games. When I won a full-ride scholarship, Mom looked up from making Eric's favorite lasagna and said, "That's nice, Clara. Can you set the table?" 2 months later, they threw Eric a blowout college send-off party with 50 guests. My celebration? One lonely cupcake I bought myself after my shift. "The interest rate is good," Dad said now, tapping the loan papers, pulling me back into the present. "This is about Tyler's future. You want him to succeed, don't you?" My throat tightened. "I need time to think." Eric's jaw clenched. "The appointment's already set for Thursday." "Thursday?" My voice cracked. "That's in 2 days. After all we've done for you," Mom said, dabbing her eyes. I nearly laughed out loud. Done for me? I'd scraped through college on scholarships and part-time jobs. I'd carried over $60,000 in student debt, which I had finally paid off last month. No one co-signed for me then. Dad's voice deepened, that old commanding tone from my teenage years. "This is what family does, Clara." "Excuse me," I muttered, pushing back from the table. My hand shook as I locked myself in the bathroom. Gripping the sink, I splashed cold water on my face. In the mirror, my grandmother's eyes seemed to stare back at me. Nana, who raised 3 kids alone after Grandpa died. Who whispered to me when I was little, "Your life belongs to you first." They expected me to walk back out there and sign away my future. For my nephew. For my brother. For parents who always saw me as the fallback option. I straightened my shoulders. Their bank appointment might be scheduled, but my answer didn't have to be. Have you ever been blindsided like that? A normal dinner turning into a carefully planned trap, with papers already filled out in your name? The next morning, sunlight streamed through my apartment blinds as I opened my laptop. My coffee went untouched. I froze at the screen. Account access. 6:42 p.m. Tuesday. Someone had logged into my company benefits portal hours before that dinner. Not me. I grabbed my phone and called accounting. Hey Sylvia. Does Kathy Moore's daughter still work in IT? A pause. Lisa? Yeah, she does. Why? I didn't answer. The pieces clicked. Lisa Moore, Mom's best friend's daughter, the one who always mailed birthday cards. She worked in IT security. She had access. My stomach churned. My bank account showed it clearly. $15,200 deposited last Friday. The exact number Mom had mentioned at dinner down to the dollar. They knew exactly what I had. My phone buzzed again. Eric. His fifth call since I walked out last night. I ignored it, instead scrolling through old messages. There it was. The group chat I had muted long ago. Eric. She just got her bonus. Mom confirmed the amount. Dinner strategy still on for Tuesday. Dad confirmed. Your mother's making her favorite meal. Eric, perfect. She won't see it coming. My chest tightened as if a fist had slammed into me. I slammed the laptop shut and pulled out a dusty cardboard box from my closet. Inside, beneath old report cards and yearbooks, I found my childhood diary. Pages filled with cramped writing. May 15th. Mom and Dad bought Eric a car for graduation. They gave me a card with $50. September 3rd. They missed my science competition for Eric's scrimmage. Dad said, there'll be other competitions. December 25th. Eric got the new computer. I got clothes for school. Page after page of favoritism written smaller and smaller, like I was trying to take up less space even in my own notebook. At the bottom lay my old student loan documents. My name alone on every page. My phone rang again. Against my better judgment, I answered. What, Eric? I snapped. You need to stop being difficult, he said without preamble. Mom's been crying all morning. I'm not signing those papers. Family helps family, Clara. What would Nana say if she saw you being this selfish? The mention of Nana made my blood boil. Don't you dare use her against me. She taught me to stand on my own feet. Something you've never learned. Look, Tyler needs this. Why can't you just do it? Why me? Why not you? Or Mom and Dad? Silence stretched. Then reluctantly, because your credit score is better. Dad's retirement hurt theirs. And Melissa and I have the mortgage. You're the backup plan. Backup plan. There it was. You're being dramatic, he added. Dad says you're embarrassing the family. People at church are asking questions. The doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole. Melissa stood there, perfect as always, holding her designer tote. I ignored her and hung up. My phone buzzed with a new email from HR. Claire, is everything okay? We received a call from a relative about your difficult situation. I almost dropped the phone. They were calling my workplace now. That afternoon at work, Margaret, a senior researcher with great curls and no patience for nonsense, set a cup of coffee on my desk. You look like you haven't slept, she said. Family issues, I muttered. She leaned in. Your brother called the front desk asking about you. Said it was an emergency. I told reception you were in a meeting all day. Relief hit me. Thank you. She nodded knowingly. Family usually is complicated. My sister tried to do the same when Dad died. Wanted me to mortgage my house to cover hers. I told her no. People who use family as a weapon don't deserve your sacrifice. Her words lodged in my chest. My phone buzzed again. A text from Eric. We need to talk. I already spent some of the money. Spent money that didn't exist. My desk phone rang. A local number. Hello, Clara. This is Mark Jenkins from First Federal. I'm calling about the family account your father mentioned. I hung up, my hand shaking. That evening, Mom called, her voice breaking. Clara, please. You're breaking your father's heart. For the first time in my adult life, I said firmly, I won't be at dinner tonight. Or Thursday. I hung up and realized my hands had finally stopped trembling. When people can't control you directly, they'll often recruit others to do the job for them. Friends, neighbors, church members, anyone who can shame you, push you, or wear you down until you break. That's what my family tried next. And for a while I almost fell for it. But sometimes the more people they drag into the drama, the clearer the truth becomes. The following Sunday, I walked into St. Andrew's Church, same as always. My grandmother used to bring me here, holding my small hand in her worn one. The stained glass windows filtered sunlight into soft colors across the pews, and the wooden benches always carried that faint, comforting smell of polish and dust. This place had once felt safe. Now, as I slid into the pew near the back, I felt every eye turn toward me. Whispers followed, heads tilted toward one another. I caught fragments. Bonus money. Won't help her own nephew. So selfish. My face burned. Midway through the service, Pastor James cleared his throat. His sermon veered off script. Sometimes, he said, eyes scanning the congregation, God calls us to sacrifice for family, to put others before ourselves, to remember that earthly wealth is temporary, but the good we do for loved ones lasts generations. His gaze landed directly on me. My stomach twisted. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. He wasn't just preaching. He was targeting. After service, as I tried to slip quietly out, Mrs. Whitaker intercepted me, her perfume clouding the air. "Clara, dear," she said, patting my arm with condescending sweetness. "You know, it's not a good look holding on so tightly. People will start to think you care more about money than family." I forced a polite smile. "Thank you for your concern." Behind her, Eric loomed, arms crossed, lips curved in a smug half-smile. He'd orchestrated this. I could see it now. He'd gone to Pastor James, spun his version, and turned the congregation into his army. I left without shaking hands, my steps quick, my throat tight. Have you ever walked into a room and felt every whisper was about you? Every look carrying judgment? That's what it felt like that Sunday. The calls started again Monday morning. Not just Eric. Not just Mom. But numbers I didn't recognize. "Clara? This is Deacon Harold. Your parents are worried sick. You know, scripture says." Click. I hung up. Another call. "Clara, it's Angie from Bible study. Sweetheart, you really should reconsider. Tyler's education is at stake. Do you want to be remembered as the aunt who abandoned him?" By noon, I stopped answering my phone altogether. At work, I buried myself in reports, but even there, the whispers crept in. A coworker stopped by my cubicle. "Hey, your brother called again. Reception said he sounded upset. Should I transfer him if he calls back?" "No," I said quickly, too sharply. "Please, don't." They gave me a look, pity mixed with curiosity, and walked away. I wanted to scream, to tell them everything, but shame clamped my mouth shut. That evening, I opened my door to find Melissa standing there again, her designer heels clicking impatiently on the hallway tile. She didn't even wait for an invitation, just breezed inside. "We need to talk," she said, setting her toad on my counter. "No," I said, standing firm. "Yes." She pulled out a folder. Inside were tuition brochures, financial aid forms, and printed articles about the importance of family unity. "Tyler deserves a future," she said, her voice silky rehearsed. "And you're standing in the way. Do you know how humiliating it is for us to explain to people that his own aunt won't step up?" "Humiliating for you," I snapped. "Not for me." Her eyes hardened. "Do you really want to be the outcast? Because that's what's happening, Clara. People are talking. Your parents are embarrassed. Eric's embarrassed. Even Pastor James mentioned you by name in prayer group. You can fix this. One signature. That's all." My hands shook, but my voice came out steady. "Get out." Her eyebrows shot up. She wasn't used to me saying no. "Excuse me. Get out." Her lips thinned, but she gathered her papers, tossed her hair, and swept past me. As the door shut behind her, my knees nearly gave out. I slid down to the floor, pressing my palms to my eyes. The weight of their disapproval was crushing. That night, I dreamed of Nana. Her voice soft but firm. "Don't let them decide who you are. Don't let them write your story." When I woke, my pillow was damp with tears. By Wednesday, I thought maybe, just maybe, the storm had passed. My phone was quieter. Work was calmer. But then during lunch, Margaret appeared at my cubicle again. "You should see this," she said, handing me her phone. On the screen was a Facebook post from Melissa. A true family sacrifices for the next generation. Some people don't understand that. Pray for those who put themselves above a child's future. Attached was a photo of Tyler holding a basketball, grinning at the camera. The comments were brutal. So sad. Can't believe she's doing this to her own nephew. Money changes people. And there, buried in the thread, was one that made my chest tighten. Clara Johnson should be ashamed. My full name. Publicly. I shoved the phone back to Margaret. My hands shook. Thanks. She studied me. You need to protect yourself. They're trying to ruin your reputation. The words echoed in my mind. Ruin my reputation. And for what? Money that wasn't theirs. That evening I sat on my balcony, the city lights twinkling in the distance. My phone buzzed again. A message from Mom. Sweetheart, Pastor James says you should reconsider. Think about what people will say if you don't. We raised you better than this. Something in me snapped. I typed back, fingers flying. You raised me to sacrifice for everyone else while Eric coasted. You raised me to believe my worth depended on what I gave away. Not anymore. I won't sign. I won't be guilt. And I won't be shamed. I hit send before I could hesitate. My phone rang almost immediately. Eric. I didn't answer. Then Dad. Then Melissa. Finally, a voicemail from Eric. His voice was cold, furious. You'll regret this, Clara. You're tearing this family apart. I deleted it. For the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. Have you ever noticed when you finally stand up for yourself, the people who benefited from your silence suddenly call you the problem? The following Sunday, I didn't go to church. Instead, I took a long walk through the city, past bookstores and coffee shops, through the park where families picnicked on checkered blankets. And for once I felt free. But freedom comes at a price. By Tuesday, the letters started arriving. Not bills, letters. From family, from church members, even from old neighbors. One read, your selfishness is shocking. God doesn't bless those who hoard blessings. Another, do the right thing before you lose everyone. And one in shaky handwriting from my mother. If you don't help, don't bother coming home for Thanksgiving. I pressed the paper to my chest, my eyes stinging. Thanksgiving. Our family's biggest tradition. Nana's favorite holiday. The one time she always insisted everyone gather, no matter what. Now they were weaponizing even that. At work I tried to focus, but my mind kept replaying the words. Selfish. Outcast. Embarrassment. Finally, I confided in Margaret. They're never going to stop, I whispered. Not until I give them what they want. Margaret leaned back, folding her arms. Or until you make it clear they'll never get it. People only push as far as you let them. Her words lit something inside me. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd been reacting, defending, explaining. But what if I stopped playing defense? What if I went on offense? That night, I opened my laptop and began typing. A letter. Not to my family. To myself. Clara, you are not selfish. You are not unworthy. You are not an embarrassment. You are strong. You have worked for everything you own. You are allowed to keep it. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. By the time I finished, tears blurred the screen. I saved the document under a simple title, Boundaries. For the first time in my life, I felt the beginning of something I'd never had before. Control. There's a point in every battle where you realize explaining yourself is useless. Defending yourself only drains you. And the only way forward is to stop playing their game and change the rules entirely. That's exactly what I did. By the time September rolled around, the campaign against me had reached a fever pitch. Melissa's posts had spread from Facebook to Instagram, to whispers in the church parking lot, to quiet conversations at the grocery store. Even my boss pulled me aside one afternoon. Clara, I don't mean to pry, he said, adjusting his glasses, but I've heard rumors about family troubles. I just want to make sure you're okay. My stomach dropped. It was one thing for my family to smear me among church folks, but if it started bleeding into my professional life, that was dangerous. I smiled tightly. I'm fine. Just family drama. Nothing to worry about. But inside, panic clawed at me. That night, I sat on my couch staring at the flickering TV numb. Their plan was working. They wanted me isolated, shamed, pressured until I caved. And for a moment, I thought about giving in, signing the papers just to end it. But then I remembered something Nana used to say. When people push you into a corner, don't beg. Build a door. So I decided to build a door. The next morning, instead of avoiding the whispers at work, I called a meeting with Margaret and 2 other coworkers I trusted. I want to clear something up, I said, voice shaking at first but growing stronger. Yes, my family has been spreading things about me. No, they aren't true. They want money that doesn't belong to them, and I've said no. That's the whole story. There was silence for a beat. Then Margaret leaned forward. Clara, that's actually really brave. And honestly, you don't owe us that explanation. But thank you for trusting us. The others nodded. One even said, sounds like they're just jealous. Relief washed over me. I had reclaimed the narrative, at least in one corner of my world. Sometimes the simplest act of saying the truth out loud without shame is the first crack in their power. Meanwhile, the letters kept coming, the calls, the online posts. But something in me had shifted. Instead of crumpling with every new attack, I started documenting. Screenshots of Melissa's posts, saved voicemails from Eric, copies of every nasty letter. I wasn't sure yet what I'd do with it, but deep down I knew evidence is power. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived in my mailbox. Thick, official. Inside was a letter from Eric's attorney. A demand that I honor family obligations by transferring part of my inheritance into a trust for Tyler's education. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. Family obligations? Since when did that have legal standing? I drove straight to a lawyer downtown. A woman named Denise recommended by Margaret. Denise scanned the papers, smirked, and tossed them aside. They don't have a case, she said. This is intimidation, nothing more. But, she leaned forward, we can do better than just ignoring them. We can respond. She drafted a letter of her own, short, sharp, devastating. It stated in no uncertain terms that any further harassment, calls, letters, public defamation, would result in legal action. Reading it, I felt a rush of vindication. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was striking back. Fourth, my family didn't take it well. Eric called that night, his voice a snarl. You got a lawyer involved? Are you insane? This is family, Clara. I took a breath, steady. Calm. Family doesn't harass. Family doesn't slander. And if you keep this up, Eric, you're going to regret it. He sputtered, called me selfish, ungrateful, heartless. But the more he yelled, the lighter I felt. Because beneath the rage, I could hear it, fear. The next Sunday, I walked into church for the first time in weeks. The whispers rose, sharp and judgmental. But I kept my head high, my steps even. Halfway down the aisle, Melissa's voice cut through. Well, look who decided to show her face. I stopped, turned, and met her gaze. My heart hammered, but my voice came out clear. Yes. And I'd be careful what you say in public, Melissa. Defamation has consequences. My lawyer made that very clear. The room went silent. Her cheeks flushed red. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. I turned and walked to my pew, my back straight. For the first time in months, I felt untouchable. Bullies feed on your silence. The moment you speak up, their power cracks. But here's the thing about people like Eric and Melissa. They don't quit easily. When intimidation fails, they escalate. And escalate they did. A week later, I got a call from a journalist at the local paper. Hi, Clara. I'm reaching out because your brother and sister-in-law have spoken to us about a family dispute. They claim you're withholding funds meant for your nephew's education. Would you like to comment? My chest tightened. They were dragging the fight into the media now. I swallowed hard. Yes, I said slowly. Yes, I would like to comment. But not right now. Can I call you back tomorrow? Of course. I hung up, heart racing. Then I opened the folder of evidence I'd been collecting. The screenshots, the voicemails, the attorney letter. And for the first time, I realized maybe this wasn't just about defending myself anymore. Maybe it was about exposing the truth. That night I barely slept. I kept hearing Eric's threats, Melissa's smugness, the whispers at church, the judgment in my mother's letters. By morning my decision was made. I called the journalist back. Yes, I said, voice steady. I'll give you a comment. In fact, I'll give you the whole story. But only if you print it in full. I sent her the folder. Everything. If they wanted a public war, they were going to get one. On my terms. When you push someone long enough, when you try to break them, you forget one thing. Pressure doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it turns coal into diamonds. The article dropped on a Thursday morning. Front page of the local section, bold headline. Inheritance dispute exposes family feud. The journalist hadn't spared details. My siblings' accusations were laid out in black and white, but so was the truth. The harassment, the slander, the voicemails, the lawyer's warning letter, and my voice, steady, clear, unshaken, cut through every paragraph. I loved my grandmother deeply. She chose to leave her estate to me. That was her decision, not mine. Family doesn't have the right to bully or extort someone over grief. That isn't love. That's greed. By noon, my phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, emails, coworkers reaching out. Margaret sent a simple message. Proud of you. At the grocery store, instead of whispers, people smiled at me. A stranger even stopped me by the fruit aisle. You're Clara, right? The one from the paper. Good for you. Don't let them win. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like the villain. My siblings? Different story. Melissa tried damage control online, posting long rants about media spin and family betrayal. But without the shield of secrecy, her words looked petty, bitter. Eric went quiet, too quiet, and then the call came. Clara, he muttered, his voice low, stripped of its earlier venom. We need to talk. I didn't answer right away. Let the silence stretch. Finally, I said, about what? There was a pause. Look, maybe we went too far. Maybe Melissa exaggerated. But going public? That was too much. You humiliated us. I almost laughed. Humiliated us. Not we hurt you. Not we're sorry. I didn't humiliate you, Eric, I said coldly. You did that yourselves. All I did was stop covering for you. His breath caught sharp. For once, he didn't have a comeback. I ended the call. Studio microphone voiceover pause. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The fallout didn't stop there. Melissa's standing in the church community collapsed almost overnight. The woman who once prided herself on being a moral leader suddenly found her gossip unwelcome. Invitations dried up. Parents whispered about whether she was a safe influence for their kids. Eric's employer, a local accounting firm, wasn't thrilled about their employee being linked in print to harassment and inheritance disputes. He wasn't fired, but he was encouraged to take an extended leave. As for my mother, her letters stopped. Whether from shame, anger, or sheer exhaustion, I'll never know. And me? I finally exhaled. Weeks later, I stood on my grandmother's porch, the house still mine, the autumn wind sweeping through the trees she had planted decades ago. For months, this house had felt like a curse. The reason my family turned on me. The reason my name became dirt. But standing there, I realized, no, this house was a gift, a foundation, a reminder that someone had believed in me enough to entrust me with her legacy. And I wasn't going to waste it mourning the people who tried to tear me down. That in the end, the inheritance wasn't money. It wasn't land. It was strength. The strength to stop begging for love that comes with conditions. The strength to walk alone, head high, unbroken. And if you've ever been cut down by the people who should have lifted you up, remember this. You don't owe them silence. You don't owe them your peace. Sometimes the only way to protect what's yours is to finally stop apologizing and let the truth speak louder than their lies.